So, Nanette, you've just finished the 12-week program with us, and I wanted to get your thoughts on it. Can you tell us what was your impetus for joining the program in the first place?
Well, I've had scoliosis for as long as I've been aware of scoliosis. Like as a teenager, it never really bothered me. But the past 5 years, things changed in my body. Um, I went back to grad school, so I think that made me sedentary quite a bit. And the pandemic didn't help. But afterwards, like 2 years ago, 3 years ago, I just realized I had trouble walking. And my husband moved to Italy. I would visit him, and all of a sudden, it was just excruciating pain just walking to the grocery store near our apartment, which wasn't far at all. So I decided that I had to do something. In the past, 10 years ago, I did a lot of yoga, and I just started going back to that again. But then this time, I felt like my spine was different, and I was afraid that I didn't know enough about my body, so that maybe certain poses in yoga I could do, but I was worried that maybe it was making things worse. So I decided to just go online, saw a lot of things, and just happened upon Ed's videos on YouTube. And your method of instruction was very clear and made sense to me. I'm an educator, so I like people who teach in a way that I can understand with clarity. So just by myself, I started doing makeshift like bands and straps from your YouTube videos, and I found that they helped. They really helped. So I initially just thought I'd join the online class, but decided I'd sign up for the one-on-one. And here I am, like 12 or so weeks after, and I
Okay,
feel great.
excellent. Well, let's talk about some of the things you've experienced during the 12 weeks. So, what's been the biggest change that you've noticed over the last twelve sessions, we should say?
Oh, there's so many. It's not so much the biggest change, but every little change has made up to make this big change that my life is so much better. And when I started 12 weeks ago, everything hurt. Doing the dishes hurt, unloading the dishwasher hurt, walking my dog hurt, drying my hair in the morning hurt, brushing my teeth hurt. And none of those things hurt anymore. And it's because I've developed my core muscles quite a bit, and I know how to move my body in an intelligent way that works for me. And yeah, just like all those. And I realized I just had to understand my body and be attuned to how it worked. Um, Ed has this thing in one of his videos where he has you go through an exercise, and he says, well, you have to listen to your body and your spine will talk to you. And when that played, I just started laughing because I realized that my spine has been talking to me for the past 5 years, but I've been silencing it with ibuprofen, just telling it to keep quiet and hoping it would go away. And it just got louder and louder until I couldn't ignore it anymore. So now I know how to listen to my body.
You'll take the ibuprofen?
Oh, I haven't taken ibuprofen from, I think, week 2 of the program. Um, and sometimes I have a little twinge, but I feel like I know how to manage it and I know how to move. I know how to modulate my movement, and I have not felt the need. And that it's really quite amazing to think that I was taking 3 a day for for years, years. Um, yeah, it's amazing. My liver and kidneys are still in good shape.
And when you put all these cumulative effects together, you told me before we started talking that you feel like it's changed something in your life. How would you quantify that?
Well, I'm just happier. I wake up and I have little to no pain. It used to be I'd wake up and I would dread just walking my dog. I love my dog and I walk him every day, but it used to be that when he'd want to walk further, I'd start having this dread because I'm like, my everything's gonna hurt now. And when he ran, I just like, please don't run because it's just going to kill me. And now I relish walking with him if he wants to go walk longer because he's an old dog and I want him to get as much exercise. I like it now. The past couple of days, he broke out into a little run, and I could actually run a little along with him amazingly. And that's a minor miracle. My mood is better. Um, I'm nicer to my husband, I'm nicer to everybody around me. And yeah, it's a holistic approach. So there's some mindset portion to it. There's meditative practices, and I think it's just helped me handle everyday stress a little better. And I find that once I start moving and do the exercises, I feel great afterwards. So overall.
You also mentioned earlier, you said, you feel like you had a certain amount of time given back in your life. You're like, oh, I feel like I got 5 years of my life back. Can you explain that?
Oh, oh yeah. Well, I'm 61, and and 60 was a traumatic affair. I think as decades are, and probably a little harder for women. And even if you're in a good place in your life, what happens when you hit a decade mark is that you look back at things that are not quite right, and they're magnified. And so I look back on 5 years, and after this program, honestly, I feel like I've been rewound to at least 5 years, maybe 7, in terms of my mobility and how I feel. And that's just after a 12-week program. And I'm quite confident at this point that if I just keep this up, I will get 10 years back by the end of the year. And afterwards, maybe even 15 years. I really have a lot of hope and have a lot of confidence in my body's ability to regenerate and to heal at this point.
Well, Nenette, thank you very much for sharing. And I hope your story is going to be an inspiration for other people to take control of their lives and start getting years back, like you just said.
I hope so. I mean, it takes work. And I think if anybody's thinking of this program, what I want to tell them is that you have to take charge of your health, and you will have to want to get better, because Ed and his team know what they're doing. They will be there for you, but they cannot want it for you more than you want it for yourself. You have to love yourself enough and want it for yourself and know that you deserve it. And I guess I wanted to end this with you, Ed, by saying I was talking to a friend about my work with you, and this was in the middle of the program, and I said, you won't believe what these guys have me doing. They have me doing all these exercises. You'd think I was training for an Olympic event. And she said, well, you're training for the rest of your life. And I think you don't have to be an Olympic athlete, but training for the rest of your life is probably the most important event that you can train for.
Brilliantly put. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Ed.